Four people have been arrested after clashes erupted between pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli groups at Cape Town's promenade. Police were forced to use water cannons and stun grenades to restore order. It's claimed that pro-Palestinian protesters disrupted a gathering in support of Israel in Sea Point earlier today. The suspects will appear in court soon on public violence charges. The confrontation comes as fighting continues in the Middle East following a surprise attack on Israel by Hamas fighters in early October. Over 12,000 people have been killed from both sides, the vast majority being Palestinians. Now, Cape Town Mayor Geordin Hill-Lewis has strongly condemned the clashes in Sea Point. He joins us now on the line. Mayor, good evening. Good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on this evening. How did it happen that both groups would have been at the same place at the same time and not necessarily being controlled to be at different places?
Good evening. It's good to be with you. They were, in fact, slightly apart from one another, but seemingly not far enough apart. And a couple of the supporters got stuck into one another and started a bit of argument and grabbing each other's posters and so on. And from there, it quickly descended.
And to yourself, I mean, in terms of the necessary applications, were both groups allowed to be in protest today in that vicinity?
Yes, both were lawful in the sense that they had informed of their protest. However, obviously unlawful in the sense that you may not engage in any violence or intimidation in a lawful protest. And so that aspect of it was unlawful, sadly, totally unnecessary, and sad given that there was a very peaceful, massive pro-Palestinian protest in Cape Town yesterday with tens of thousands of residents convening without any incidents. And there have been many, many protests over the last few weeks in the city, all over the city, without any incidents. So it's very sad that a tiny group of people caused today's to descend into this kind of violence and a lack of tolerance.
And what has been the response then from the public order policing, rather, in terms of bringing authority to the situation?
I think their response, obviously I wasn't on the scene, but from what I've heard from those who were, the response was entirely correct in that they used strong force to restore order, and they arrested those who were responsible for starting the fighting. They did seize 2 firearms from 2 of the counter-protesters, and so some of those people will appear in court, as you said in your story. And that's exactly what they are supposed to do. The police are supposed to protect people's rights to peaceful protest. And when people engage in violence and intimidation to try and shut down other people's rights, then they must intervene to stop that. And so that is what they did. And I think the lesson we can take is if there are future protests at the same place at the same time, they need to be further apart from one another, not just 50 or 100 meters, but much further apart.
Yeah. The political parties, of course, as you know, are divided over this Palestine Hamas or what you call Israel Hamas conflict that is currently taking place. And hence, I wanted to know, going forward, what is the position of the city on how you will, of course, organize yourself around these protests, because there's no way of stopping them?
Well, I just think, as I said in my statement today, I've actually been very proud of Cape Town over the last month, because Cape Town has this really wonderful and quite unique situation. We have a large Muslim and a large Jewish population, and all of the protests so far have been completely peaceful and tolerant, and have really been a model. We've seen violent protests in London, we've seen violent protests all over America, all over the world, really. Places that are supposed to be bastions of tolerance have actually looked to us to see how to do it until today. So I'd really like us to get back to being an example of how you can share your views. You can share your views very vociferously. You can hold your views. You can protest your views, but you cannot infringe on other people's rights to do the same, even if you disagree with them and think they are completely wrong. In a democracy, that's how it works.
Mayor Geordin Hill-Lewis, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on. Cape Town Mayor there, Geordin Hill-Lewis.